Over the past 6 seasons, the Boston Celtics have been nothing short of spectacular. They made the conference finals in just Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown's first season together, made the conference finals 2 seasons after that, and finally made the NBA Finals in 2022 after one of the craziest mid-season turnarounds in league history. They would lose in the NBA Finals to the Golden State Warriors, but everyone expected the Boston Celtics to be a major player in the Eastern Conference this season. And that's exactly what they've been. Matter of fact, I'd argue that the Celtics literally have no excuse not to make at least the NBA Finals and challenge for Banner 18. They have a favorable roadmap to the NBA Finals, they're the deepest team in the league, and they have the best duo remaining in the Eastern Conference, at least in my opinion. However, the Celtics are infuriating to watch at times, and there are things that greatly concern me about this team. Things that, if not corrected, could cost this team this series against the Philadelphia 76ers and could make them squander this golden opportunity to win it all. But before we begin, be sure to leave a like on the video as each like makes a tremendous difference for the channel, and also be sure to sub to the channel for even more content like this. Despite already being good enough to beat any team in the Eastern Conference and seriously contend for a title, the Celtics suddenly had an easier road to the NBA Finals than they could have imagined. Given that the Hawks somehow beat the Heat in the play-in game, the Celtics didn't have to play Miami in the first round, which was a blessing considering how closely contested these matchups have been over the years. These two teams met in the conference finals twice in a 3-year span, with the Heat taking their 2020 matchup in 6 games, and the Celtics prevailing by the skin of their teeth in Game 7 last year. Moreover, the Celtics' luck continues as that meant that they'd have to play a Hawks team that they swept in the regular season. And that dominance over the Hawks was on display through the first 4 games of the series. The Celtics pulled out a road win in Atlanta to take a commanding 3-1 lead in this series, and now all they had to do was go back to TD Garden, a place where they were 32-9 in the regular season, and close out the 7th seed. Not only would they be playing at home, but the Hawks would be without DeJounte Murray for that game due to suspension. Additionally, the Celtics were up 13 points with just over 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against the Hawks, a team that couldn't guard a parked car. But, as legend would have it, the Celtics did what they typically do: let teams hang around when they have no business doing so. The Hawks went on a 15-2 run in the fourth quarter, and Trae Young would hit a logo 3 to give the Hawks the win. Another glaring thing about this game was the roller coaster performance of Jayson Tatum, who went 8 for 21 in this game, 1 for 10 from 3, and this overall showed us again that despite being a top 10 player in the league, these stinker performances from Jayson Tatum aren't uncommon. In the grand scheme of things, the Celtics would seal the deal in Game 6. But the habit of letting inferior opponents hang around late in games would be a recurring thing against their next opponent in the Philadelphia 76ers. In Game 1, Joel Embiid did not play. The Celtics shot 59% as a team, 39% from 3, 94% from the free throw line. JT and JV combined for 62 points, and Malcolm Brogdon gave them 20 points off the bench. But the Celtics still lost. They paid for their single coverage of James Harden at pick and rolls. They allowed Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and DeAnthony Melton to crush them from 3, and turnovers were one of the main reasons why Philly was able to hang around in a game they had no business in. The Celtics committed 16 turnovers to Philly's 6, and Philly scored 20 points off of those turnovers. And it's also important to note that the Celtics are just 8-9 on the season when committing that many turnovers, which isn't surprising given that creating opportunities for the other team doesn't help you. Unlike that Game 5 against the Hawks, Jayson Tatum was actually sensational in this game, dropping a very efficient 39 points and scoring 20 points in the second quarter. However, he'd follow that up with just a 7-point night. I know this was a blowout, and that win says a ton about the Celtics' depth. However, Tatum's inconsistencies could prove to be one of the Celtics' Achilles' heels in these NBA playoffs. Jayson Tatum is obviously an elite player and one of the brightest stars in our game, which makes it even the more puzzling as to why he's been inconsistent in the playoffs. Heck, Game 4 essentially sums up the roller coaster experience that comes with him at times, with him starting the game 0 for 8 from the field, due in part because of foul baiting, and him completely turning that around in the second half and hitting what would have been a game-winning 3 over Tyrese Maxey. As for the positives for the entire team, Al Horford had 5 blocks in this game and limited the MVP to an inefficient night. Jaylen Brown was very efficient in this game and has been great all series. The Celtics had 6 players in double figures, and they stormed back from a major deficit to almost win this game. But as for the negatives, Jaylen Brown helping off of James Harden to double Embiid wasn't a smart decision and was a move that ended up costing them the game. And the Celtics still had 2 timeouts at that point after Harden made that 3, but they weren't used. This series is 2-2, and the Celtics did do right by getting one in Philly in Game 3, but their late game execution is still a problem from years past. Tatum can't afford to have wishy-washy performances against higher level competition, and Joe Mazzulla has made questionable decisions already in these playoffs. Moreover, if they somehow lose this series, regardless of what Giannis has to say, it would be a complete failure of a season. Going back to their potential road to the NBA Finals, the Hawks being the Heat in the play-in completely changed the complexity of the NBA playoffs, as the Heat miraculously beat the Bucks in just 5 games. This was obviously huge because I felt Milwaukee was definitely the greatest threat to the Celtics for multiple reasons. Milwaukee had home court advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs. They just took the Celtics 7 games without Chris Middleton playing a single minute in last year's series, and they arguably had the best player in the world. But now, not only is Milwaukee gone entirely, but you're facing a Sixers team that you have historically owned in the Jayson Tatum era, with the Celtics winning 2 playoff series against them and suffering only a single loss in those games. And they have a hampered Joel Embiid that they're playing against. On top of all of that, your conference finals opponent isn't the big 3 Miami Heat, it isn't the 0-4 Pistons, and it isn't some almighty force that puts you as underdogs. It's either Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and the New York Knicks, or an overachieving Miami Heat team that probably won't even have Tyler Hero. If the Celtics truly want redemption from last season and want Banner 18, they must flip the script and become the dominant team we expect them to be. And if they can do that, this core 6 years in together can finally cement themselves in NBA history. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts on the Boston Celtics performance in these playoffs thus far, and also leave your predictions on how far you feel the Celtics will advance in these playoffs. Be sure to leave a like on the video, as each like makes a tremendous difference for the channel, and also be sure to sub to the channel for more content like this. Hope to see you all in the next one, and stay tuned.